Alors, bonsoir tout le monde,
Good
bienvenue
evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting on June 26th. Before going any further, I just want to remind everyone that this evening's meeting is available with simultaneous interpreting.
Tonight's meeting is available with with translation uh, live. Ceci étant dit, la ville de Dieppe reconnaît également que la
So the
terre
city of Dieppe recognizes that the land on which it operates is part of the unceded traditional ancestral lands of the Mi'kmaq. The peace and friendship treaties that the Mi'kmaq jointly developed and signed with the British Crown in the 18th century apply to this territory. The treaties did not deal with the surrender of land or resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq title and set out the rules for what was to be a lasting relationship between the parties. Second item, the opening word. Dear colleagues, may we have the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you. Moving on now to the call to order. Item 4, confirmation of quorum. Everyone is there, no one's missing, so we do have quorum. Conflict of interests, item 5. Did we receive any notices of conflict of interest? No? Okay. Let's move on to item 6, adoption of the agenda. A mover, moved by Councillor Lantang, seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question. No questions. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The agenda is adopted as presented. That brings us to item 7, presentations, inquiries, and petitions. Oh, pardon, do we have any? We'll begin with 7.1, inquiries by council members with our inspector who is present in the room. So before going to your questions, councillors, I presume, Inspector Farah, that you have some things to say to us. You have information to present to us, I imagine. All right, thank you, Your Worship. Councillors, the major crimes unit is investigating on a death that occurred last night in Dieppe, and we're treating it as a homicide. So on June 27th at approximately 10 p.m., members of the Kodiak Regional RCMP responded to a report of a man that had been shot on Louis Street. When police arrived, they located a 26-year-old man inside the residence. He was transported to hospital where he later died. The police believe that this is an isolated incident and that the man was targeted, and that's why we're treating this death as a homicide. So if you have any information that could help us make progress in the investigation, please contact the RCMP 1-888-560-RCMP, and you can also always remain anonymous by going through the Crime Stoppers line. So as soon as we have more detail, we'll keep you up to date. On the 22nd of June, we the 46-year-old man was arrested with a certain amount of cocaine, methamphetamines, and fentanyl, and an amount of drugs and drug apparel. He will appear in court tomorrow for his bail hearing. I also wanted to give you an update on another file in Moncton. On June, in early June, we went to a site of a robbery in on a bank on Cornwall Street rather, in Moncton. A man entered the bank and demanded money. He then fled before the police arrived with a non-disclosed amount of money. No one was injured. The police have been able to identify a person of interest, and they arrested a 73-year-old man from St. Catharines, Ontario. He appeared on June 21st and was accused of robbery. He was placed in custody and is scheduled to return to court on June 23rd for a bail hearing. Uh, Now, in Dieppe, last week, between June 22nd and Sunday, there were three uh, complaints about noise due to various parties, and we sent patrollers immediately, and we had cooperation from people. And this was basically graduation ceremonies, and so we just told them to keep the noise down, and they were very cooperative. In terms of the community police unit, uh, June 19th, Father's Day, was also the commemorative race for in in Moncton Park. Thank you to all people who came out despite the weather. There were Kodiak police officers and from the region there on hand to congratulate the runners. And thank you to the snowbirds as well from the Canadian Forces, specifically Captain Richard McDougall from Dieppe and his team members who were with us, and they ran the race with us as well. A reminder that this is an event that's a way for us to honor the people who are the police officers who died, and it allows the community to come together and to work towards healing. So that is my report for this evening. If you have any questions, I can answer them now. Are there any councillors who have any questions for the inspector? Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. Ms. Farah, I'm coming back with, I received a letter recently from a resident from Gaspé Street, and I think my colleague sent you a similar letter. So this is 16 residents of Gaspé Street and the surrounding area. So I ask you once again, if you have use for, if you can bring your radar, please bring it to this neighborhood. And I'm mentioning Gaspé Street, but it's the same thing happening elsewhere in Dieppe where they're speeding. People are not stopping, and it's a total lack of respect. And I think, you know, I'm afraid that one day or another I'm going to have to call you to call an ambulance. I don't want that to happen. So we have to do something. And so I beg you to do something. Councillor Brideau, I can tell you that in Dieppe, we are doing a lot of enforcement activities, but it's a collective effort. So it's great that people are reporting that they're seeing problems. What we'll do is continue to focus with our patrol cars. And I actually sent a message about it today. And we'll also be reviewing uh, things with another unit to see if the perceptions are true. So, because sometimes if you're a pedestrian, sometimes we think that people are speeding, but we don't have a radar. So if the speed limit is 50 kilometers, people may or may not be following, but maybe they're going through the stop signs, maybe they're texting, maybe they're driving dangerously. So those are things that we can look at. All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, it appears that there are no further questions, so we'll continue our meeting. Thank you once again for being here, Inspector Farah, and for the information. Now, we always encourage you to stay with us, but we understand that you have a lot of other things to do, so we understand if you have to leave.
On est en
Presentations now.
présentation.
We have a
C'est
presentation
pour
that is,
Caméra pour guérir. Monsieur Maurice
we'll
Henry,
be dealing with
le
cameras for
microphone
healing.
est
Mr.
à Monsieur
Maurice
le maire.
Henry, please come to the mic.
Bonsoir, Monsieur le maire.
Bonsoir.
Merci
Good
beaucoup,
evening, Your Worship.
conseillers et conseillères
Thank you,
de
counselors from the city of Dieppe.
J'apprécie beaucoup l'occasion
I
de partager mon
really appreciate
nouveau
this
projet.
opportunity to talk to you about my
Bon,
new
peux-tu
project.
faire ça? OK. Bon, le projet est appelé Canada pour guérir, puis
So this is called Cameras
c'est le projet
for
en
Healing, and I've been
Afrique,
working on this since
en
2006. It started
Namibie,
in
ici
Africa.
local,
It
puis
and
aujourd'hui,
now
puis
I've brought it.
différents,
I'm doing it locally,
différentes choses
and we're doing
pour
lots
aider
of
les
different
femmes
things to
en
help
France. Donc, le
people
projet,
who are suffering.
ce projet ici,
So this project in particular,
Besoin d'aide peut-être
ça
avec.
avance pas.
do you need some help with the slide presentation?
Ah,
Perfect.
merci.
All right, thank
Donc,
you.
le nouveau projet
So this is a new
qui vient d'arrêter
project that has
s'appelle
just begun.
Images
It's called Images of the
pour
Heart,
guérir. Puis c'est
Cameras for
pendant la
Healing.
pandémie, j'ai été arrêté comme
So
tout le monde pour tout
because of the pandemic, I had to stop for a
plusieurs
number
écoles
of
à
years.
pandémie quand
And
les
after
exercices débouchaient un peu.
the
J'ai été au
pandemic,
travail,
when things
m'ennuyer de
started
mon famille, de
uh,
mes délais.
getting
J'ai pris un
started
engagement
ending, I
de
fell
lancer le
ill,
projet Canada
and
pour
so
guérir.
I wasn't able to
C'est
start
un
this
grand
project
honneur pour
before now.
moi
But it's a great
d'assister
honor for me
premièrement
to,
le premier
first of
projet
all,
qu'on a
uh,
organisé.
to say that this is
C'est un
the first
projet
project
d'abord,
that
c'est quelque
we've
chose d'une histoire. C'est avec des jeunes
offered.
adolescents, 12, 13,
This is
14
a
ans,
project with young
qui est
teenagers
venu trouver. On a travaillé avec eux
who
depuis
came to
5 ans,
find us, and we
plusieurs,
worked with them for
jeunes.
5 years.
Euh, on a passé à peu près 75 jeunes. Mais si
We
je
worked
suis
with about
vraiment sur
75
le
young people,
terrain
and
du
just to give you an
principal
overview or give you a context,
pauvreté, d'abus,
poverty,
d'abus
abuse,
sexuels,
bullying at
choses comme ça.
school, things like that.
Mais plusieurs de nos jeunes, quand ils venaient avec nous autres,
A number of the
leur
young
amour
people
était le suicide.
uh,
C'est affreux.
were dealing with thoughts of suicide, and it was a horrible thing. So we worked with them,
Qu'est-ce qu'on a fait?
and I'll tell
Deuxième
you about what
projet,
we did.
c'était
And then the
avec
second project. So that first project started in 2010. The second project
encourager
involved adults, and
l'enfance.
it was the
Pas
same
nécessairement tous
themes,
pauvreté, parce qu'on avait des
abuse, and it
professeurs,
wasn't always poverty related.
malades,
We had nurses with
des gens
us. We
comme ça.
had,
On ne sait jamais qu'est-ce qui se passe derrière les portes fermées
you never know what's
ou
happening behind closed doors,
l'environnement professionnel.
especially in a professional environment.
Aujourd'hui, la caméra
But
image, le projet Image du
today,
cœur
the project
consiste
Images of the
à
Heart
rassembler nos jeunes,
is
pas
about
seulement des femmes, des filles, que maintenant
working
c'est
with
des jeunes
young
filles, mais
teenage
aujourd'hui c'est des jeunes femmes.
girls and
C'est des
who are
femmes
now
20 ans.
women. They're
Les femmes que je
in
travaille
their
avec,
late teens and early 20s.
le deuxième projet, les femmes
And the
adultes,
second
sont maintenant des
project
aînés
that
de
I
65 ans,
worked with, the
encore
women are now
12 ans,
seniors.
enfants.
So we brought the two groups
C'est un genre
together
de partenariat avec eux
to do a
pour
partnership with them.
encourager la sagesse de la vieillesse. Je vais me
We
servir de la
wanted
vieillesse.
to
La sagesse de l'âge
encourage
avec
the
les jeunes.
older
Puis j'entends que
participants
c'est
to
un
share
projet,
their
puis c'est
wisdom
vraiment quelque chose qui déjà
with
fait
the youth.
et très
And
agréable.
it's
Coopération
already
entre
an
les
incredible
femmes,
cooperation between the two
plusieurs
groups.
choses. Donc je pourrais vous parler jusqu'à
So
demain
I could talk to
là-dessus,
you
mais
for
je
hours
vais
on this,
essayer.
but
Donc nous
I have
utilisons
to finish this
l'expression
presentation.
créative
So
comme
we
philosophie
use
vivante.
creative expression as a healing philosophy for those living with
Chacun
pain,
opère
grief,
pour
fear,
créer des
poverty,
gestes
abuse, or stress.
et créer un
And we
environnement
create an environment of
inclusif et
inclusion
participatif où
and
presque
belonging
none existe.
where often
Ça,
none
c'est un
exist.
gros côté. C'est
And
vraiment
that's a big aspect of this
sain et safe
project.
avec
We
les
want to
femmes et
create
les
a
hommes
safe
qui sont
space
vraiment
for these
apprécier
participants
l'ouverture
where they
l'expression
can
intérieure.
appreciate
Selon Statistique Canada,
that
c'est
they
plus
can
les adolescents,
be open.
jeunes adultes de 15 à 24,
According to
mais
Statistics
connaissent
Canada, young
l'insuffisance
teenagers and young adults from 15 to
du
24
Canada.
have the
C'est
highest
statistique.
level of
Donc,
mental issues of any group age group in Canada.
suicide est la deuxième
And these
cause.
statistics also indicate
C'est
that
quelque
suicide
chose
is the second
assez
cause of death. And we're talking,
déstabilisant
this is with young
d'essayer à
people.
une petite échelle
So
d'aider
we're trying on a small scale
le
to
taux
help this group.
de perte au Canada est très élevé sur le point de vue, c'est dans les billions B.
We're talking about
C'est affreux.
great losses here in Canada. So when the youth come to us, we see their faces. You see, these young people are looking at their feet. They're not sure what to do with their camera, and they have a lot of lived experience. You can see it in their eyes. There's fear in their eyes. and it's really something. But
en l'espace d'à peu près une
you
semaine
know, within
avec le
a
projet
week
New-Brunswick,
with this
les
project,
visages que vous voyez d'elle, les
the
visages
faces
des
that
gens
you
qui
see,
sont
and you'll see it in the next image, this is what the change, this is the change that we see. And we saw
avec
it
une femme adulte
this week with an
qui nous
adult
a annoncé
woman
pour la première fois
who
depuis
announced to us
plusieurs années qu'elle avait eu
in
l'occasion
for the
d'aller
first time
à
that
Bruxelles.
this was the first time in
C'est
many,
vraiment
many
quelque
months that
chose
she had been
de
able to
concret.
smile. And that
Ça fait
was
c'est
last
vraiment quelque
Tuesday.
chose quand on reçoit des
So it's
commentaires
really
comme ça.
something when we get feedback like that.
Mais avec nous,
It's
on
great.
va commencer ça en deux parties. Je le fais avec
So
nos
I'll
jeunes.
do this in two parts. I'll start with the young
Toujours
people.
un environnement de classe, comme vous pouvez voir.
So it's a
Tout le monde
classroom
reçoit un
environment.
appareil flambant neuf.
Everybody
J'ai
gets a
travaillé dans
brand new
beaucoup
camera.
d'écoles, donc presque
I
toutes les
worked in a
écoles de la
lot of
province.
schools, almost all schools of the
Avec beaucoup
province.
de jeunes,
I worked with a
les
lot of young
systèmes
people.
scolaires nous ont aidés, nous ont donné
The
des
school
parcelles
divisions
de classe à
helped
faire dans les
us, or they
systèmes
invited us. They asked us to work with certain
le
kids that were
français
having
basé sur
issues, and
le système
it's
scolaire.
been a success
On peut travailler
thanks
aussi
to the school
avec
system as well.
l'Université de Moncton pour aider les jeunes à
Um,
participer dans la musique.
we
Avec Michel
also
Destin,
did work with the University of
qui nous a amenés
Moncton
à
to help,
arranger avec le groupe Systema.
and we worked with the University of Moncton with System as well. We did a concert. So you see the stage here. You see three giant screens at the top. Our young people were making, or our participants were taking pictures based on uh, Be- Beethoven's music. There was 150 people involved, and all our young people. And it's very touching for us too, because they tell us a lot of things. Some people say, you know, I've never been applauded in my life. So these are little comments that are really moving when you hear them, and it encourages us to continue. It gives these young people a sense of belonging. So we get the young people to meet as well. We had a lot of support from firefighters. There's a lot of industries that want us to uh, bring our young people to them. There's the automobile industry. So at the bottom of last, we even brought our young students to the flight club, where they were able to uh, talk to all workers in the flight club, from mechanics, and some of the young people had never been to Fundy Park, and so we bring them to these places. We do lots of things like that, and then the project also always finishes with a public exhibition. So this is an important part. These people, we want our young people to be able to share their experiences, and we want to give them an opportunity to speak about their project in public as well. So I don't know if you see there's a young man speaking uh, the bottom left hand side. Now I'm not going to give names here, but this person had not spoken out loud for 2 years. Um, and one day the person spoke, and the mother and the grandmother, every time they see me, they hug me, and they start crying. They say, I don't know what you've done, but my young person is able to speak, and now we can't shut her up. And it's a great sound. So for us, it's a real moving experience. It's, so research has shown that art helps to develop problem solving skills by encouraging children to explore and find creative ways of solving problems. And that's a very important aspect. In photography, it's a problem solving exercise. You can't just click. You have to experiment with angles and so forth. So when children explore art, they often test possibilities and work through challenges. So we use uh, cameras to guide young people towards education and personal development. Everybody has to write how they feel, and so as you can see here, we work with a lot of groups, and that's just a fraction of the people that we work with. Everybody gets a certificate at the end, and in this case, each person received uh, a computer to go to school, and we also bought them book uh, notebooks and papers and pen or pencils and papers and pens rather. And we also buy them clothes as well so that they feel comfortable because some of the kids don't have clothes. Here's a success story, one of our success story, Kayla's. So CFH has had a big impact on my life. I want to graduate and be someone. And so she was the first person in her family to graduate from high school. And she called me about 3 years ago, a Friday night. She called me up on the phone and she said, I just want to say one thing to you. Today, I'm getting a diploma. I'm graduating from a university diploma, and I'm becoming a teacher, and it's thanks to you. So I got a bit weak at the knees when, and we've received a number of calls like that too. Same thing with the women. It's the same thing. The class working together, the artistic sides, we talk, we negotiate, we make programs when we listen. That's the most important thing is listening. And it becomes a very powerful program, but simple as well. It's not something you could just do in 1 week or 1 week or one trip. Each project that we do is a long-term project and it makes a huge difference. So we go to various locations, we incorporate nature. That's another very important component. And maybe some of we 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 also participate with Freeman Patterson. He's my mentor and a friend, but we often go to his place, and that's on his property there. It's an incredible space, and so we try to incorporate nature. So this is a woman that we also worked with. I've had losses that have brought me to my knees. Cameras for Healing took my wounded heart, dusted it off, and rekindled my passion and joy. That was Diana. She was an incredible woman, and she incorporated poetry into her projects there. So with like we do with the young people, we organize an exhibition at the end. We get a lot of public support that come out to support these women. They buy our photos to help us support because this is you know whether you like it or not, this can be an expensive project as well. There are costs associated with the cameras. That's my biggest cost, and I've been the one financing that cost for now. But that's basically our project, and we always work with people from the community, and the participants gather at the end in a public environment. There's a in a gallery space, and people are smile a lot at the end. So I'd be happy now to take any questions that you might have. Thank you. Are there any counselors who have any questions or comments? Counselor Turgeon-Roy. Very interesting. I'm familiar with your project already, but how do you go about selecting participants? I get the impression that there's strong demand, but how do you do that? Well, it's a good product, but or a good problem, but it's word of mouth. So that's how we get participants. At the beginning, I worked with the Moncton Boys and Girls Clubs and with the YWCAs. The, they would help me with select the participants. We always do an interview. There's a process. We don't just take anybody. Uh, we turn down a lot of applicants. I just don't have enough funding. I don't have enough space. I don't have enough resources. So it's hard to turn down people, but do you have people from Dieppe? Part we have part of Riverview, a part of Memramcook, Moncton, and part are from Dieppe. Yes, so it's great to have the three communities represented in the project. All right, thank you and good luck. Councillor Boudreau, thank you, Your Worship. I really want to thank you for the presentation. I was not aware of this project. before getting this in our package, and I have a lot of admiration for what you do for the community. And I imagine this has a big impact on people who are living with trauma and who are in difficult situations. Or, I could tell you lots of stories, but thank you. Councillor Lebouty, thank you. Well, same for me. It's a very touching presentation, and congratulations for the impact that you're having on these people. My question is do you have funding needs? You haven't indicated an amount, but well, this project, just for an example, my budget is about $18,000 to carry it out, and it's a 4-month project. But the biggest expense is cameras, because since the pandemic, it's difficult to get things at a reduced price, and prices are going up too. Everything's going up. And one of the big things is that we can use used cameras as well. People often ask me, can I donate my cameras? But sometimes their stuff is quite old. And don't forget that we're often dealing, most of our participants are have really struggled with poverty. So I'm not interested in giving them secondhand cameras or hand-me-downs, if you will, things that other people are throwing away. It's very important for me, because right at the beginning, when we give them a box, and I don't know if you saw this in the pictures, but we give them a box, and it's a brand new device. It's never been used by other people, and immediately you see their reaction in their face. I've never received something new before. So, and we see that with our young people too. Just to give you an example, and I'm not exaggerating, um, some young people would sleep with their cameras because it was so precious to them, and also they were afraid to get them stolen. So sometimes, in some cases, parents would steal the cameras from them, and that happens. So some young people would sleep with their cameras because they were new. Right, thank you. Anyone else? Oh, your worship, Jérémy, there will be a meeting with Mr. To see if there's a possible consultation or a collaboration. The Jérémy from the staff will be meeting with Mr. Henry. Uh, I'll be very happy to meet with you. And it doesn't matter whether it's what community the project is. We all need to help our young people. Not everybody can play hockey. And I'm not saying that hockey is a bad thing. I don't want you to think that that's what I'm saying. It's very important to have sports as well, but not all young people can, either in terms of coordination, or some people are not good in teams. I was a good hockey player, or but I wasn't a good hockey player, but I was a good swimmer. So it's the same thing here. So thank you very much. Great, thank you very much for your presentation. And as already mentioned, somebody will reach out to contact you and to see what we can do with that.
Présentation publique.
7.3, public presentation, amendments, municipal development plan and zoning bylaw. Mr. Alexandre Girard is here to present this evening. Good evening, Your Worship and councillors. We're in the public presentation phase for these amendments that are being proposed to the municipal development plan and the zoning bylaw. And this is with regards to the annexation of the territory on January 1st. Now you see a schedule and a timeline of the formal amendment process in front of you, and the zoning bylaw on June 12th. we started the amendment process. There was a resolution presented on June 26th. As today, there is a public presentation. And then you'll see the future dates of the public hearing and so on. So we wanted to take time to make sure that we think about it and that we reflect upon all of the information that's going to be presented here this evening before we bring the comments back. So we're giving people summer to think about it, and we'll be back on September 11th for a public hearing. And this will be another presentation. On September 20th, the file will be presented to the PAC, the Planning Advisory Committee, and then the PAC will present its recommendations for council decision on October 12th, 10th, and 23rd. Once again, just to give you the context, the local governance reform came into effect on January 1st, 2023. But before that, we had an information session in order to make sure that the public was informed about the annexation and the amendments that were going to be brought to the municipal development plan and the zoning bylaws and the permitted uses, for example. So we held that information session here in council chambers on January 13th, 2022. We also put up some panels at the entrance to City Hall, right at the entrance of the lobby. And they were up there for 4 or 5 months, I believe, quite a long period of time. There was information placed on the city website, of course, on the annexation process and on the amendment process. There was a public presentation. There is a public presentation. I'm here in front of you right now, and there will be another presentation and public hearing on September 11th. Please note that we sent a formal correspondence to the First Nations so that they could follow the procedure as information if they're interested in seeing the changes that are being proposed. We're open to receive any comments. We also consulted the different provincial government departments to see if they had any comments to make on what we were proposing. So just to explain the context, once again, in January 2021, the province of New Brunswick launched the local governance reform process. The residents of a portion of the local service district of Moncton, which we call Greater Lakeburn, as well as a portion of the LSD of Scoudouc, have been annexed to the city of Dieppe since January 1st, 2023. The proposed amendments to the City of Dieppe's Municipal Development Plan and Zoning Bylaw are intended to integrate and harmonize the existing development regulations in the annexed area with those of the city. So we're going to look at everything that's already in the rules, what are the permitted uses currently, and we're trying to integrate and harmonize that with the documents that already exist. Here you see the annexed area. There are 2 sections, in fact. There's the part that comes from the DSL Moncton in Greater Lakeburn, and on the right, you'll see the Scoudouc part of the DSL. And then you'll see where it's written Westmoreland, Albert, and Beaubassin West. They refer to the planning regulations that exist currently that will be repealed and replaced with the city's bylaws. So the total surface area here will be currently the territory is 102 square kilometers, and there's 25 square kilometers, or almost 25% of that, is part of the new territory. There's 669 lots, 300 houses, and about 900 people in the new territory. So the work of identifying the zoning for each of these lots. Well, here we're just presenting the big picture, but we are going to get comments. We're asking feedback because from the residents, because it'll have a real impact on their property. If we're going in the wrong direction, for example, we'd like to know about it beforehand. So we'd like to get this feedback. We asked for it last December. We had some conversations and came up with certain solutions, but it's important for people to get involved in the process and give us their comments. So what is a municipal plan? Well, it guides the growth and development of the city of Dieppe. It's a document that is visionary, it's strategic, and it helps in the long-term planning. It establishes policies that will guide and support the orderly development of the city of Dieppe on social, economic, physical, and environmental levels. And it is a municipal bylaw. So I mean, it's important. And what is a zoning bylaw? Well, the City of Dieppe zoning bylaw helps implement the policies of the municipal development plan by setting more specific rules for the development of properties in the municipality. For example, if we're talking about the size of the lots or the setbacks, the uses that are permitted on a certain property, can I do this? Can I do that? Once again, here you see the two territories, the two areas that we want to that will be impacted by this by these amendments. It's the rural plan in Westmoreland, Albert, and the rural plan in Beaubassin West. So we're proposing to create a new section in the municipal plan that will recognize the new territory. It's not the same thing in these merged territories as it is in the downtown Dieppe. It's not the same thing in Saint-Anselme, for example. So there are some like, particularities in each of these areas. So we want to protect the rural lifestyle of what already exists. People who went to live in these areas did it for a specific reason. So the municipal plan has to make sure that this rural lifestyle is maintained and regulated. We want to limit urban sprawl as well. We want to minimize these subdevelopments in order to limit urban sprawl. If people want to live on existing streets, yes, there is that opportunity, but urban spread can create certain challenges. And we recognize that certain sectors already exist, but at the end of the day, the objective is to have a certain to be able to limit further urban sprawl. Now, by urban is very broad here. We're talking about single-family dwellings on 1-acre lots here. So we want to preserve the natural state as much as possible and enhance the natural environments. We want to limit the commercial and industrial development of the annexed area. Currently, in the existing bylaws and rules, certain uses are permitted that could lead to certain problems in terms of nuisance in the future. So we want to propose certain amendments to prevent certain conflicting usage in the future. Now, the scope of the municipal plan amendments now, we want to provide a context for these changes. We want to add statements regulating development density and form. We want to regulate the subdivision of land and the residential, commercial, and industrial uses. Once again, industrial, you have to put that in context. A warehouse can be considered an industrial use, but we are proposing that certain usages be permitted. It's light industrial, if you will. We're not talking about heavy industry that might create a nuisance. What is being proposed to the general land use map, though? So here you see the map on the screen, and I would invite people who want to look at this closer to go to the seat's website. You can download the map and to zoom in on your property, your area, to see how this generalized land use map has been amended. Here, this is very high level. It's on the zoning map that people will really look at their particular property. And I will talk about the zoning map a little later. So as I mentioned, the objective here is to merge 3 zoning maps into one. We have our city of Dieppe zoning map, and then there are the rural plans for the other 2 LSD. And so we want to merge them, and the next maps are important for council to look at and for public. So what is being merged here? What is being proposed? Well, we're proposing that the zoning be RA, generally speaking, for most of the new territory. It's about 80% of the annexed territory. And so it includes single-family dwellings, but there are other uses that are related to a rural lifestyle. For example, you can have agriculture, you can have forestry activities, you can cut trees or grow trees for forestry management purposes. So these are uses that are already permitted, and we're just going to continue to allow that in the new annexed territory. Any questions so far? I don't think so yet, but I'm sure there will be some at the end. Not only from council, but from people in the room. So here, what you see on the screen is a new zone that is being proposed that will recognize these subdivisions and developments that are already existing, or where we will see a traditional type development on 1-acre lots. So within this zone, we recognize here the existing context, of course, but there will be a part of the territory that will allow this, because people had, in some cases, there'd already been development plans that had been submitted or projects are already underway. So we're going to continue to see a certain amount of development on these 1-acre lots in our proposal, but we want to limit it to 17.4% of the territory. And most of this territory is already developed and has single-family homes on it. Here, we're proposing to zone certain lots along Champlain Street as a CE zone. It already exists in the zoning bylaw. The CE zone, Champlain East, allows a certain level of commercial use. We chose to give it a commercial zone along Champlain is because it's already commercially zoned closer to the airport, and so it's just a natural continuation of that use. And then to the eastern part here, can you see it? No. Just a second. So close to the Trans-Canada here, we're proposing the same zone as CE, and we're proposing a new zone called mixed rural, RM. And this where there is a existing use already that has a certain level of might cause a certain level of nuisance, but are already existing. So we thought that we would create this new zone in order to better regulate any future expansion. And I just want to show you this very quickly. It's a tool that our IT section created for us. So you can see the annexed territory here. The zoning you see in front of you here is the existing zoning, the current existing zoning. And what we're proposing is this. So you can see that there are a certain number of changes. It's a little difficult to look at a specific lot here in this public presentation, but it's important for people to go look at it online and to share their comments or their suggestions with us.
Donc, la diapositive que vous avez devant vous, effectivement, c'est la
So the slide you see now is the what would be adopted if council so wishes, if it decides to vote in favor of this proposal, but no decisions will be made this evening. It's just a presentation of the proposal. So I'll go through the timelines once again. The next step will be the public hearing. People can send us their correspondence anytime now and share their comments. They can send them to the clerk's office. People have sent over 600 letters to everybody in the sector, telling them how they can communicate with the planning and development department, and they have the email addresses and phone numbers. So on September 11th, that'll be the next step. There'll be a public hearing, and we'll go through the same presentation. On September 20th, it'll be presented to the PAC, and on October 10th and 23rd, council will have to make its decisions. Once again, we created a website to allow people to go see this information and any supplementary information. And if you have any comments, please send them to me using the link that you see here on this slide. And that wraps up my presentation. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions or comments from council? And then we'll ask if there are any questions from the public. Councillor Godbout. Thank you, Your Worship. Excellent, excellent job. Thank you very much. I can not even imagine how you conceptualized all of this and how you were able to frame it. And so thank you and congratulations for having done that and for having presented so clearly. I think it's easier for us to appreciate what's coming. I have a question. And when I looked at the work that you did to try and accommodate in such a great number of people, and so thank you for having looked at the size of the lots and the existing, and thank you for for being open to have people come right to you and come talk to you. So that's great. But I'd like to know how, when you have a number of small lots, I mean, that's easier. The normal uses are clear, but in this zone RA, for example, these are large lots. So as a planner, how do you do this work? What is the approach? How is it different when you look at that, and how can this influence you? Well, the RA zone is called rural area. It's a reserve. It's areas that cannot really be developed either because there are no services, or there's no access to a public road, or we're just not at the point where we need to develop them. So the municipality, by zoning it RA, perhaps over the next 20 or 30 years, where there might be more development pressures, perhaps it could go that far. So it's a first generation plan that we're presenting here, because we're going to well, the land is now ours. We're going to start to get to know it. We're going to see what development pressures there are. And the municipal plan that will be evolving over the future, and there'll be updates of the different master plans. And this will inform then whether water and sewage system will be installed in certain parts of the territory. So this is all future information that'll come down. Now, another point that should be mentioned today is that we're not proposing any changes to the urban service boundary, which if we were to change that urban boundary, the service boundary, it would mean that certain areas would have to get water and sewage, and we're not changing it right now. We'll see further down the line if we want to amend our master plan in order to see when there might be the opportunity or when we have an opportunity to bring water and sewer to a certain part of that territory. We're talking about 25 square kilometers. It's a large territory. Certain parts of it will probably be developed faster than others, especially along Champlain Street or along closer to the Trans-Canada. And of course, along Melanson, there'll be a little bit of pressure as well. But currently, we're just taking over the territory. We see it really as a long-term land reserve for the municipality for now. Thank you. Councillor Leboutillier. Thank you for the presentation. I have two questions on the zoning. So in the rural mixed zone, you're talking about commercial, light industrial, but the people who live there, will they be grandfathered in? Will they be protected? Well, yeah, that's one of the questions, and that's why we're proposing this rural mixed zone, because there are certain areas where there's already an existing warehouse. So in that zone, we'll recognize that an existing warehouse is a permitted use. So they might be able to expand it, but they won't be able to go from a warehouse to a car mechanics shop. So so people who have vehicle repair shops are being recognized. They can continue to operate, they can expand somewhat, but they will not be able to transform their business to a warehouse. So the the zone will recognize existing usage on and current usage on that territory, and will give them a certain amount of flexibility if they want to expand, if they want to modify their operation somewhat. So they will be grandfathered in the sense that yes, these are recognized usage. And that brings me to the next question: CM zone along Champlain, CE. Sorry. So they're going to be grandfathered in as well, probably? Yes. Well, in that case, the grandfathering will be more specifically for the single-family dwellings. There are single-family dwellings along Champlain Street already. So if you look at Dieppe City overall, you have the industrial park, which is just to the north. The airport is just to the north. So it might to have this transition zone between the airport and the Champlain. It's probably the best opportunity we have by introducing this commercial zone, light commercial, light industrial. And like all other policies, if a resident, after this rezoning, if somebody wants to change their zone, if they want to subdivide their own lot, they can ask for a variance. Well, yes. So a subdivision would be agreed if they meet with all of the subdivision zoning and zoning bylaws. A variance is a separate process if they don't meet the criteria and the requirements of the zoning bylaw. But all of the administrative and legal procedures, yes, they will apply to the new territory as well. Thank you. Are there any questions from the public? This is an opportunity not to be missed. And if not, at least take the opportunity and take them up on the offer.
What we now call Meadowbrook. Thank you for the opportunity. I only have a small issue here.
Yeah.
You refer to light industrial. Now, the adjective light actually has no meaning. So I would prefer that this council look at defining what they mean by light industrial. I would prefer to see it as an operation that was no more than 8 hours a day during what we call normal business hours, 8 to 5. Otherwise, the lawyers get involved and it can change very rapidly. Look at the Amazon site in Mississauga today. Over 1,800 trucks a day, and that was light industrial 5 years ago. Thank you very much. The presentation is great. I really enjoy it. The translation people, thank you very much.
Donc, pour répondre à la question
So
du...
to answer the question from the gentleman, the question of light industrial, it is defined in the zoning bylaw. You can go through it. I mean, there are certain usages, like, for example, food processing or certain operations, certain usage that don't create a lot of pollution or a lot of noise, for example. So there's a definition in the zoning bylaw already, and but I'm taking note of your comment, and we could add that to the public hearing to make sure that it's clear that when we talk about light industrial use, we are referring to this specific definition.
OK. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres intervenants ou questions?
Would anybody else like to speak up, or if you have a question?
Step up. Avancez-vous.
Hello, my name is Jean-Marc Bourgeois. I live out in the Beaubassin area, and from what I'm seeing today, it just looks like it's a Lakevern area you guys are working on right now. What's the development that's going to be up on the other side of the highway? A lot of people just trying to figure out what's going to go on that side.
Donc, la question ici était qu'est-ce qui va se passer sur la portion.
So the question was, what's going to happen to the portion that is to the east of the Trans-Canada Highway?
So essentially, what we're proposing here is to maintain essentially what the permitted uses were in under the Beaubassin West plan, where essentially for the grand majority of the development that was not located on the main street, essentially it comes down to an agricultural use, a single attached house, forestry use, and other uses like a kennel and whatnot. So a contractor's yard would also be permitted. So these are essentially a continuation of what is existing. I'm not sure if you had a specific use that you had in mind, or... Excuse me?
Down the road, I do plan to.
Okay, so at this point, the proposal here is essentially to have, you know, those specific uses that we did print out a proposed use in the RA zone, so you have that in front of us, in front of you. So it was printed in the back, so individuals can have access to that information. Donc à ce niveau ici, comme j'ai mentionné,
As I mentioned, we have printed out the primary permitted usages. There's printouts, there's copies of the document at the back of the room. So if you feel that certain usage should be withdrawn or should be changed, we'd like to hear about it so that this can be considered and debated by council. I would invite the gentleman to contact us if there is a specific concern.
Le meilleur temps, c'est
The best
maintenant.
time is right now.
Doesn't get any better than that. Home service. Kind of home service, but okay, homey service. S'il y a pas de... Come on up.
All right,
Avancez
come
vite.
on up. Just a small question. Charles Michaud, are you going to extend Champlain, the lots and the sewer on Champlain?
Là, c'est qui qui va répondre à la question?
So now, who's going to answer that question?
Pas mal certain qu'on parle pas de
I'm pretty sure
5 ans, mais on va laisser-
we're not talking about the next 5 years, but I'll let somebody else say that. Well, we could come back to the original question. So the municipality, the proposal is not to change the perimeter of the city or city limits, but we need to study things further to see, you know, what part of the new territory will be served by utilities. Now, it's always our director, our plan, our master plan that guides us, and that's what we use there's substantial costs associated with extending utilities, so we have to plan that in the long term. So I don't know if Marc-André, my colleague from the engineering department, has something he wants to add, but I think at the end of the day, for the next few years, the municipality does not intend to extend utilities into the annexed area. Marc-André? Thank you. Well, just as an addition, I think in the coming year, we're going to be extending the water line by about 200 meters on Champlain. But other than that, there are no plans for the next 5 years to extend the sewer and water.
Excusez, peut-être juste pour clarifier.
And I just want maybe to clarify the water line at that was something that was planned before the changes made by government. All right, if there are no further questions, thank you.
Eh,
I have one question. Carolyn O'Hanley from Calhoun area, Memramcook. If we're not going to be experiencing any of these services, but yet I think at the very first meeting I attended, we will be experiencing an increase in a prorated tax base over the next 5 years.
That's what the provincial government told us too. So,
Okay, so we're blaming it on
well, you know,
Premier.
we didn't start this party. We just
Well, I think I heard those words too.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so yeah, there will be work happening over the years as things move along. I mean, the same thing applies to folks that are up on what's the name of that subdivision? Domaine Nature, where people just made sure to build just outside the city limits, thinking that nothing's gonna happen. I can save some money here and not have to pay the taxes that are in Dieppe, but still continue to use their services.
Well,
So that being said, we're in this thing together, and I'm sure that staff will continue to make plans to look to the future and move
we'll
things
just
along,
watch
but it
for-
ain't gonna happen I don't expect anyway to see it happen, and I guess we've heard some of that within the next 5 years.
Okay,
So
thank you.
we're just trying to be as honest as possible about the whole thing without trying to commit to things we can't deliver on. So Quelqu'un d'autre? Anyone else? If not, merci.
Thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting to see the work that's being done to continue to develop our part of southeastern New Brunswick so that we can continue to grow, and for future generations, of course, as well. So thank you very much. Next item. Adoption of, questions of the minutes? No further questions from the public? All right. Item 9, adoption of minutes. 9.1, regular council meeting held on June 12th. Any moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau-Roy. No questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, saying nay. The motion carries as presented. Now we come to item 10.1.1, the acceptance of the 2022 annual report for the City of Dieppe. Mr. Menassel. Hello, everyone. I'm pleased to present the annual report for 2022 this evening. This report was prepared in accordance with the legislation, and it highlights the achievements of the municipality. It also contains general information on the city, its population, its tax base, its tax rate, user fees, and information as well on the on grants that were awarded and the costs of services provided. There are also the audited financial statements that were adopted in May, and that confirms the good financial position of the city. And I have to say that we've accomplished a lot in the recent years. We adopted a new organizational structure that aimed at giving us greater capacity to achieve our strategic objectives, but we also offered a number of other successes. The Inclusio Cafe, the free summer hours for Dieppe House, our participation in our hosting of numerous sports activities and music activities, and the financial spin-offs of those activities were very significant. We held a number of public consultations on topics such as the tree code or the tree bylaw, parking in the downtown core, seniors and active aging, and public washrooms, and the aquatic center was replaced the membrane of its pools to increase security of swimmers, and to there was also the transfer of the swimming lessons from the Red Cross to the Canada Life Saving Society. We helped Café host the Monde en Fête Festival, and Expansion Dieppe also moved into our offices as well. The artificial turf was installed in the yard of the Mathieu Martin School. We also made initiatives in the area of waste management and to promote the development or the well-being in our city. $750,000 were given in grants to community organizations that support the municipality and its development. Without forgetting that we established a new construction record for this year, totaling over $119 million and a number of new housing units. So those are just a few examples. I invite you to consult the 2022 annual report that will be available on the website tomorrow. Thank you to the staff for all their great work and for the continued support of council. 2022 was a very successful year. Are there any questions from councillors? Seeing none, we will continue to. Oh, we need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Leboutier, seconded by Councillor Lantaigne on the question. No questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The annual report for 2022. Oh, we should have read out the motion. Go ahead, Councillor Leboutier. We're going to back up a bit. I was trying to go too quickly, I think. We'll slow down. That council accept the 2022 annual report of the City of Dieppe. So moved. Moved by Councillor Leboutier, seconded by Councillor Lantaigne. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution is adopted as presented. 10.1.2, ratification of directives adopted at closed meetings. Mr. Melanson. Yes. So periodically we make these decisions public. So the first one was the agreement in principle reached with the QP Local 4679. It was signed on June 13th, 2023. It is for April 11th to 2021 to April 10th, 2026. It's for a 5-year period. And so the details will be read in the resolution. There were operational articles that were revised, and we were able to go ahead with the agreement, and I can make it public today. And then the second part, following that agreement in principle, we proceeded with the salary increase for non-unionized employees. Now, historically, this is what we've always done in the past. So we're making that directive also public this evening. And to read the directives, Councillor Boudreau. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council adopt the collective agreement reached between the City of Dieppe and the that Council ratify the directives adopted at closed meetings of Council concerning the following topics. 1. Agreement in principle QP Local 4679 adopted June 12th, 2023. 2. Salary increase non-unionized employees adopted April 24th, 2023. So moved by Councillor Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Godbout on the question. No questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution carries as presented. 10.2, call for tenders, pumper replacement. So this is part of the management of the city fleet. We want to propose pumper replacement number 21. And we propose to purchase that in 2026, but it takes a number of months to receive the vehicle. So because this is a financial commitment for 2026, we're asking the council to issue this directive so that we can proceed and we can go out to proposals so that we can secure a vehicle for 2026. And it's part of our city fleet plan, and it's an important vehicle for our residents. So it's who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council authorize the fire department to proceed with a call for proposals 36 months earlier than expected for the replacement of a pumper. So moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Godet on the question. No questions. All those in favor say nay, aye. Opposed say nay. The resolution carries as presented. Next item.
Au 10.3.1.
We're now at 10.3.1, the Advisory Committee for Age-Friendly Municipality Program. We're asking for renewals of Roger Martin, Carmen Renaud, and Chantal Deschambre for this Age-Friendly Advisory Committee, and Michel C. Béliveau was on the list of names for people to sit on the committee. So it's that council appoint these people as members of this committee. And who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Turgeon-Roy. Thank you, Your Worship. That council appoint the following persons as members of the Dieppe Age-Friendly Advisory Committee for the term commencing of July 1st, 2023 and ending on June 30th, 2025. So we have Roger Martin, renewal, Carmen Renaud, renewal, Chantal Deschambre, renewal, and Michel Béliveau. And I so move. Thanks. It's been moved by Councillor Turgeon-Roy, seconded by Councillor Rideau on the question. No question. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. It's carried as presented. Now for operations, it's an additional funding request for Arthur Gilles Leblanc Center for the renovations toward a net zero project. Yes, for Your Worship, we had a project that's underway with the FCM, the Canadian Federation of Municipalities, it's a green municipal fund, and there's a possibility of increasing their contribution to go on to the next phase of our renovation of the AJL Center. The questions this evening were asking to submit a request for additional contribution and to see if we are eligible for a $1 million rather than $500,000 that we had, and if we could this be considered as as one of the priorities during the infrastructure projects that we'll be studying during the budget deliberations in the fund. So we're waiting to get a response from the FCM, and we want to so this evening that we're asking for a request to be allowed to the FCM, and then in the next step would be to include that in the budget process for a final decision. Thank you. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Leboutier. Thank you, Your Worship. The council authorized that a request for additional contribution be submitted to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Green Municipal Fund to increase the admissible costs for the project entitled AJL Renovations Toward Net Zero Capital Component to a total of $7,500,000 plus HST, and accept that the City of Dieppe's total contribution is in the amount of $6 million, be conditional upon receiving the said additional contribution, and I so move. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Leboutier and seconded by Councillor Thibodeau on the question. On the question, Councillor Leboutier, thank you. Yeah, when we read the summary here, I'm just wondering why. Well, we probably have it, but it's not identified here. Why do we not apply to the federal government infrastructure fund? Are we not? Is this not eligible? Good question. It allows us to explore other funding opportunities, and the federal government might be an option, same as the provincial government. This is an opportunity that exists with the FCM. So we want to take this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you. No further questions. All those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. It's carried as presented. Number 11, municipal bylaws, bylaw C34 concerning streets, sidewalks, and trails. It's a reading of the summary of under Local Governance Act, Section 15.2.3. The summary reading. Who would like to read the summary? Read it by summary, and Please don't all answer at once. Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw C-34, 2023, a bylaw of the City of Dieppe concerning streets, sidewalks, and trails. Pursuant to the authority vested in it by the Local Governance Act, Chapter 18, the Council of the Municipality of Dieppe duly assembled enacts as follows. The sections of bylaw C-34 remain unchanged from those set out in bylaw C-34 2022 adopted on February 28, 2022, with the exceptions of amendments to sections 2 and 6 as follows. Section 2, prohibitions. 1. It is prohibited to wash, place materials, equipment, or perform repairs on a vehicle or trailer in or upon a street, sidewalk, public area, or trail, except in an emergency. K. Remove, destroy, or in any way or manner deface or injure any plant or shrub now planted or growing, or that shall hereafter be planted or growing in or upon any street, trail, or other public grounds within the City of Dieppe unless authorized to do so by a responsible representative of the city. L. To sleep or erect a camp or shelter with or without a tent or any other material on any street, sidewalk, trail, or public grounds within the City of Dieppe unless authorized to do so by a responsible representative of the city. N. Place or plant any plant anywhere in or upon a street, trail, or other public ground within the city unless authorized to do so by a responsible representative of the city. O. Allow any hedge, plant, or shrub growing on their property or on the street right of way to obstruct or impede street lighting, public use, traffic, or the view of drivers of pedestrians. Q. Damage or cut any roadway, sidewalk, curb, trail, landscaping, or municipal infrastructure unless authorized to do so by a responsible representative of the city. Article 6. Notice. 3. After becoming aware of a situation as described in paragraph 2.1.0, a responsible representative of the city may issue notice to the owner obliging them to trim or cut down the hedge or shrub in question within the time allotted in the notice. And I so move. It's been moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question. No questions. All those in favor will signify by saying yes. Opposed, no. It's been read as it's been carried as read. We now move on to third reading by title only of the same bylaw. Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw C-34, bracket 2023, a bylaw of the City of Dieppe concerning streets, sidewalks, and trails. And I so move by title only in third reading. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Brideau on the question. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. So bylaw C-34 is carried in third and final reading, which brings us to number 12, notice of motion. We haven't received any. Number 13, inquiries and announcements by members of council. Unless I'm mistaken, the last time I believe Councillor Godet had started. So it's now up to you, Councillor Lantaigne. Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to take this opportunity to congratulate all of our grads. It was, there were parties everywhere, I think, last weekend, and we didn't hear of any unfortunate incidents. So that's great. And congratulations to all of the graduates. And we wish you a lot of all the best of luck in your future. Thank you. Councillor Godbout. Thank you. There's been a number of activities over the last few weeks, but the only thing I wanted to mention here this evening was the CPRA had its annual meeting last week, and it also had a number of achievements. It also is moving forward on a number of different fronts, and they met all of their obligations towards the municipalities and their agreements. And over the next few years are going to be a little more, we'll need strategic planning, but the annual report for the last year was very positive, and I just wanted to mention that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Turgeon. Thank you. I have had a number of several activities as well. Last Wednesday was the banquet of Expansion Dieppe, and I'd like to congratulate the organizers of the event. It was really a great event, and it was held in the Uniplex for the first time. Congratulations also to the all of the people who were nominated and the winners. And the other thing I wanted to mention was the great contribution of the committee, the Pride Dieppe committee, and the employees of the city who organized the wonderful second edition of the Pride Festival here in Dieppe that was held just this past weekend. I was able to participate in several of their activities, and let me tell you, it was really nice to see the participation. Everybody was in a good mood, and everybody recognized all of the great work that's being done, work that's been being done for the last year, because the Dieppe Pride committee has only been here for 1 year. So Fierté Dieppe Pride is a major player in the community, and because of what's going on throughout the world and even in our province recently in terms of this community, Fierté Dieppe Pride it plays an important role within our community for a number of reasons. It allows us to promote inclusion, equality, and the respect of the rights of everybody, no matter what their sexual uh, identity, their sexual orientation, or their gender identity is. The mandate of this committee is to make the population more aware of the situation and of the different aspects of cultural diversity and gender, and to create an inclusive environment in our workplaces and our schools, in our community, to increase and enhance the visibility of the 2S LGBTQ1 plus, and to celebrate the uniqueness of each person, to ensure access of the francophones to resources and activities in their own mother tongue, and to allow the Acadian queer members to fully develop as well. I'd like to thank all of the members of the council. I'd like to talk about Joshua Vautour, Serge Leblanc, Lisa Leclerc, James Godet, Mergen Leblanc, Catherine Furlong, Audrey Gionnet, Nathalie Gauguin, and others. All of these are residents of Dieppe, and thank you for your first anniversary. It's a great event in our community that is an important step towards a fairer, more tolerant, and more respectful society. Thank you. That's all for me. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. I have nothing this evening. I have no questions and no information to share. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. I just had a few items to mention, but my colleague, Councillor Lantagne, already congratulated all of our graduates, the graduates from Mathieu Martin High School. Congratulations to all of the youth who were honored. And I'd like to congratulate Expansion Dieppe as well, and the whole organization for the banquet that was held last Wednesday. It was a wonderful evening. For the first time, we were able to have this event in our own uniplex, in our own community. And I'd like to wish all of the residents of Dieppe a wonderful summer, a safe summer. Remember that in our streets, the speed limit is 50. Please be careful. There are children in the streets. I can't repeat it often enough. We receive complaints. So I give notice to all drivers please be careful and please respect all the stop signs. And because I see them in front of my house, it's the stop sign doesn't seem to exist. So please do stop. So and have a great summer. Thank you, Councillor Boudreau. Thank you, Your Worship. I had a question. Yesterday, we had a bad quality of air because of all of the wildfires across Canada, Quebec, and Canada. And the only thing I heard was on the Weather Channel on Météo Média, that mentioned that the air quality was not good, that you had to be careful when we went outside. Is there anything else that the city can do in those situations? I imagine it's going to become more and more frequent uh, to see these wildfires because of climate change. We did not receive anything from the province's emergency measures organization. We didn't receive any messages, but if it does happen in the future, people can close their windows, close their heat exchangers to prevent the air from going from outside into in. Of course, we will be getting more wildfires, of course. But that's what you can do at home. But personally, I didn't receive anything from the province. I was waiting for an announcement, but we didn't hear anything because it was wrap up yesterday. No, it didn't last long, but that's what I just noticed, that people were still walking outdoors, and I thought, well, perhaps might not be a good idea if one of these people had any health conditions that could affect them. So it just we're not used to that kind of situation. I just wanted to see.
I can do a follow-up with my colleagues in the province and to see if there's things that we could do in the future too if it happens again. Thank you. I too wanted to join José in congratulating Fierté Dieppe or Dieppe Pride for the programming that they had this weekend. I attended the film Il y a une étoile with queer talents. And what really touched me in that film is that some people feel like they have to leave to be able to express themselves freely, especially in the rural areas. So this idea that you have to go to the city or elsewhere to be able to express yourself, I'm very happy that we have Dieppe Pride so that these young people can develop and thrive. And it was great to see the Black Party or Block Party rather, and the queer market. I too would like to congratulate the graduates of CCNB and Mathieu Martin. Thank you, Your Worship. I will be brief. Most has been said. Most of the things have been said already. I wanted to congratulate all the graduates from Mathieu Martin and the CCNV. The future is yours, and it's always great to attend these ceremonies. Now, I didn't attend the college graduation, but I saw the people coming out. You could see the energy and the excitement of these people as they left the building. So it was great. Now, I have a question. Because we talked about this, we've had new appointments for the seniors committee, and that's been working under the city of Dieppe. That's the community. That's the committee that we're talking about. I would like, if possible, for the committee to come and talk to us and tell us about their needs and where they are and what what they're seeing in our residents here. So that's all for me. Thank you. I've made a note of that. All right, Councillor Gaudette. Thank you, Your Worship. A number of things have already been mentioned, and so I attended the Expansion Dieppe banquet, and it was great. I wanted to congratulate all the winners of that evening. It was a great evening, and that's all for me. Now, a number of the events have been mentioned. The film on Friday evening. It was a really good presentation. It was done very professionally, and it was very interesting. At the graduation at Mathieu Martin, I sat there for over 2 hours to see the 289 students receive their diploma, and it's very encouraging to see that we have a great future ahead of us. When we look at those young people, we know that our community has a great future. So it was great to participate in that. So again, thank you to all the people who made presentations this evening or who came to ask for additional information. Have a great evening and continue to work with us, with our staff. While the staff is doing a great job of explaining how we're doing this transition. So thank you to everyone and enjoy the rest of your evening.